Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. Rural Development Minister Gopinath Munde dies in a tragic road accident in Delhi after an Indica rammed into his SX4. Just hours later, the driver of the Indica is out on bail. But India has the worst safety record in the world with over 300 road deaths every day. We asked tonight just what will it take to make road safety a priority and who should be made accountable. Also on the show tonight, RSS frontman Dinanath Batra strikes again after Wendy Doniger's The Hindus. Now another book, Megha Kumar's Communalism and Sexual Violence, has been withheld by publishers Orient Black Swan. Are threats from the thought police increasingly making publishers self-censor? And is academic freedom getting compromised in the bargain? That's coming up later on in the show. But first tonight, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi were among the many political leaders who paid their last respects to Union Rural Development Minister Gopinath Munde. He was involved in a car accident in Delhi early this morning. He was taken to AIIMS where he was pronounced dead. He had a liver rupture and died of a cardiac arrest. The driver of the Indica that ran into Mr. Munde's car was back on the streets just hours later after being charged with rash driving and causing death due to negligence, both of which are bailable offences.
At about 6:20 a.m. this morning, Gopinath Munde was on his way to the airport when a silver Indica rammed into Munde's SX4. The Indica was coming from the Aurobindo Marg side, while the minister's car was headed from Prithviraj Road to Safdarjung Road. The Indica crashed into the back seat door on the side where Munde was sitting. The driver did not try to flee from the location and was detained immediately. His car seized. He has now been booked under Section 304A for death due to negligence and Section 279 for rash driving. The police say the fact that his car skidded for 31 feet is an indication of how much he was speeding. The police say they are probing whether he jumped the traffic light. However, there were no CCTVs in the area.
अभी हम पूरी इंक्वायरी कर रहे हैं किस तरह था, किस तरह सिक्योरिटी इवेंट्स था.
Driving the Indica was Gurvinder Singh, a driver for a contract company called Silver Service. Gopinath Munde was rushed to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences by his personal assistant and the driver after he indicated he was hurt and in urgent need of medical attention and seemed to have no major injuries externally. He was pronounced dead shortly after at 7:20 a.m. The driver of the Indica has now been released on bail.
शरीर को ऑक्सीजन देने के लिए जो सेंटर्स हैं उनकी जो ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई कट ऑफ हो गई, इंजरी का जो इम्पैक्ट है उस इम्पैक्ट से उनके लिवर के ऊपर भी 2-3 जगह पर लिवर पे भी उनके चोटें आई हैं.
So will it take the death of a central minister to make road safety a priority for the government? Consider the statistics. 360 people die from road accidents every day in India. That's 10% of the global total. During the year 2011, the total number of people killed in road accidents was over 140,000. There is one serious road accident every 1 minute in India. Every 4 minutes, a person in India dies in a road accident. There are 35 accidents per 1,000 vehicles, and more than 50% of the accidents are caused by the driver's fault. Many say the need of the hour is specific road safety legislation pending for the last 4 years, and perhaps most of all for attitudes towards road safety to change once and for all. In New Delhi, with camera person Sushil Rathi, Bhairavi Singh, NDTV.
Well, joining us on this discussion tonight on road safety and the road ahead, Sunita Narayan, Director General of CSE, someone who survived a terrible road accident herself, not too far from where Gopinath Munde's accident happened today. She's faced the trauma of it firsthand. KK Kapila, Chairman of the International Road Federation, an organization that campaigns for road safety, highlighting its problems. Sambit Patra, spokesperson from the BJP, joining us tonight in studio, as is Dr. Amit Gupta, who's a professor of trauma surgery at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Also, two very special guests tonight, Pulkit Singh and Somit Pangte from IIT Delhi. These are students who started an online petition for road safety since they felt that this was a critical issue that was being ignored by our political parties. But Sunita Narayan, let me come to you straight away, because really, you know, you've experienced this firsthand. You were hit by a speeding car while you were cycling. The driver fled the scene of the accident, but you were lucky because passers-by did stop and give you assistance at the time. You spoke very movingly about your entire experience and the problems really about road safety. Why is road safety in such shambles in this country?
You know, Ankita, firstly, I was fortunate. In fact, one of my doctors is sitting with you, Dr. Gupta. I'm very grateful to the trauma center. They worked very hard to save me, and I do believe that places like the trauma center are absolutely the most, you know, things we don't understand how critical they are in our cities. And I do want to thank Dr. Gupta and his colleagues, you know, take this opportunity to do so. But I think it's very important for us not to let such incidents, you know, blow over. We need to understand that this is a very serious issue in our country. The fact is that in all the statistics you read out, one of the most horrifying thing also is that not only are the deaths globally that are happening in our part of the world, not in the part of the world which has large numbers of cars.
Right.
Secondly, deaths are happening to the poorest people, to the vulnerable people. If you look at Delhi itself, out of the 2,000 or 1,600 people who died last year because of road accidents, half, more than half, were pedestrians. Therefore, our city doesn't even have the right to walk. We have no right to cycle. And I think this is really what we need to put on the table. We do not have road engineering that is happening today, which takes into account the needs for cyclists, for walking, and for scooterists, motor cyclists.
Right.
What we are doing is to turn our cities into just places where cars can zoom ahead, and in total neglect of everybody else's lives. And this has to change.
This has to change. Amit Gupta, that was a very moving tribute from someone you've treated. But as, you know, someone who is used to seeing trauma patients come in, emergency patients come in, would you agree with Sunita Narayan's assessment that really perhaps, you know, it might take the case of a Gopinath Munde to highlight this, a VIP death that might shock people into reacting, but really it is cyclists and pedestrians who are most at risk here?
Absolutely, Ankita. First of all, let me thank Sunita for the wonderful appreciation she's given to AIIMS and the trauma center. I fully agree with her when she says that we need more such centers in India. At the same time, I also want to highlight a point that which Sunita also did, was that like any other vulnerable population, there's a group of people on the roads which is known as the vulnerable road users.
Right.
And these are the people, and the causes of road traffic injury are multifactorial. It starts from road engineering itself,
right,
where people like pedestrians and cyclists don't have any space. One of the studies in India showed that there were 92 types of road users on the same road, competing for the same space, going on at different speeds, and therefore it is quite obvious that they hit each other and cause accidents.
Right.
At the same time, our statistics from the trauma center show that a significant population of the people who are coming in as victims are either two-wheeler drivers, motorized two-wheeler drivers, or they are cyclists or pedestrians. 28% of all victims being brought to our trauma center are actually pedestrians. So something needs to be done,
okay,
in terms of road engineering, in terms of behavioral changes of drivers, and also in terms of the post-crash care. I'm not saying that the post-crash care itself is foolproof. We've got gaps in our post-crash care itself, right from the site of incident, the pre-hospital care, the ambulance care, and within the hospital. So this whole systems need to be looked at.
I'm going to take that across to K. Kapila, Chairman of the International Road Federation. Many issues being raised over here, principally among them, you know, the fact that India has the worst road safety record in the world. Are we out of step with international practices? Is that what is the problem? Is it the law, the legislation that is outdated, and really new legislation that's pending? Is that the gravest concern here? What, in your opinion, really, where does the buck stop, in a sense? Because, you know, you have the police, you have civic bodies, you have the government, but also, what about attitudes of citizens, people who flout traffic rules openly, brazenly? What about them?
See, the problem is multifaceted. I fully agree with Sunita ji that the vulnerable road user is the most affected people. But then we need to realize that the issue is little beyond that as well. We have no driving license regime is exceedingly bad. It is one of the worst in the world. If you don't have people who drive on the road with proper licensing, then the problem is so grave that you don't know whether the person who is driving next to you, how well he knows. And not only driving licenses are given without any proper driving tests, these people, some of them are ignorant. They can't even read the road signs. They don't even know what exactly is happening on the road. They just know how to accelerate a car, and that's the end of it. So we need to strengthen in many areas. We need to provide for the cyclist. A cycle track in urban environment is a necessity. A footpath, which are there even in the city, are occupied by hawkers. So unless we have a clear pathway to walk, unless we have the cycle tracks which are properly laid down, which is doable, not very expensive, and yet you don't do it. The other important aspect which I would like to highlight is that we have to educate the masses at what exactly is wrong, and why are we unable to address, why are we so disinterested in the road safety as a subject.
So are you saying then that it's attitudes that are a problem?
We have been able to get attitude is also one of the problems, because there is little regard for the law of the land. A person who jumps at red light, a person who is speeding, doesn't care because he pays a nominal fine and gets away with it.
So perhaps sometimes not even that, and I do want to bring in Maxwell Pereira, formerly of the Delhi Police at this point. Maxwell Pereira, how much of this really is also a factor of police inaction? You know, the fact that people believe that they can brazenly flout traffic rules and get away with either paying a nominal fine or perhaps not even that, because, you know, the policeman might even take a bribe and look the other way.
The police is only the visible wing of the enforcement or the traffic management. Nowhere in the world, nowhere in the developed world would you see a policeman, a traffic policeman on the road, you know, enforcing or this thing. He appears only when you have committed an offense, and this is the only country where you expect a policeman to be visible for you to follow the rule. We put on technology, we bring in lights and keep a policeman to make you obey the light, not for you to follow the light because with the red and the green, red to stop and green to go. But then no, you want a policeman to ensure that you follow that. You know, this is what, you know, is the attitude you are talking of. Attitude is one of the things. But then the sheer apathy, the sheer, you know, callous negligence that we, in our practices, these are some of the things that we should think.
But callous negligence on the part of governments and civic bodies, sir, or apathy when it comes to following these rules? Apathy on the part of our citizens?
I'm sorry, you know, it's very easy to blame a governmental this one. If you want to blame the government, you blame it on the government's inability to spend a pie, spend anything on traffic infrastructure. Traffic management is a holistic issue. It's not piecemeal. There is everyone. There are so many agencies who are involved in traffic management. If they all do their job correctly, if all the components in that watch of yours, you know, work perfectly, then you get the correct time. And here it's that's why I call the traffic police the visible wing of traffic management. Otherwise, the whole traffic management involves 100 other agencies, including the judiciary. I will tell you how the judiciary is involved. Today, we are having only contact, you know, enforcement. That is contact system of chalaning.
Right.
In England, 10 years ago, I made a study, and there were 20,000, cameras, what you call this red speed cameras, at intersections and at various, violation points. And those 20,000 cameras generated a revenue annually of 95 million pounds a year. And it was, the figure was growing. And that fund is used for road safety, in bringing up road infrastructure, in bringing in more cameras. This is something that we won't do. In this country, we are more, more loyal than the king himself.
Fair point. I want to take that across to our political representative on the panel. Sambit Patra, is this partly because there is not enough political will to address an issue like road safety? The BJP, for instance, didn't even make it a part of their election manifesto. The Congress did, but even then, just briefly. Why does it need a VIP death for us to be even talking about it, given these staggering numbers? 300 road accidents, fatal road accidents a day.
Yeah, Ankita, first and foremost, let me begin by saying that I pay my homage to Mr. Munde, and I'm really pained. The kind of thing that we have been seeing since morning, I was there also. We are really pained, and I would not like to politicize the whole issue, but this is a very important point that you had brought in. And I was listening to all of the panelists, and everyone is right. Since everyone is right, it only points to the fact that there is something big which is wrong, and something big which is wrong is the awareness that is lacking somewhere down the line. The awareness of all of us, I mean the politicians, the people, at a large extent. See, what Mr. Pereira was saying was absolutely right. There is a red light. We are supposed to follow the red light. And the accident happened in the middle of the most important area of this country, in the heart of the capital of this country. We had fabulous red lights there, but someone jumped the red light. Someone did not obey the traffic rule. So at the end of the day, we need a man to man the red lights also. So I believe at the end of the day, it is attitude. But you are right. I mean, this issue is to be addressed by the intentions of the politicians also.
Why is it not? Why is it not? This is not also the first VIP death in a sense, or the first politician.
We had Jail Singh also. We had
exactly.
Sahib Singh Verma also.
Jail Singh, there's been Rajesh Pilot, there's Sahib Singh Verma, there's Yeran Naidu. The list is endless. No, so we're not actually talking only
Ankita,
about the poor and vulnerable anymore either.
No, Ankita, in fact, I would consider this demeaning that we should be discussing and debating only VIP deaths, and only the VIP deaths should be.
Not at all. I think the point that was made right at the top of the program was
crores and crores of common people are dying every day.
The poor, the cyclists, the pedestrians are the most vulnerable.
And for that, yes, I believe even we politicians should take this issue very seriously. Our intentions have rightly been questioned, and we should see to it that this is not only a debating point in the parliament, but something very constructive comes out of the parliament also.
Well, we certainly hope it will. But Dr. Gupta, you wanted to make a point here, but also when we are talking about attitudes and flouting traffic rules, is that something that perhaps as a nation, Indians are apt to do even more than other places? We heard Maxwell Pereira talking about people following rules elsewhere in the country, the need to have this kind of management of traffic that you see in India, or the police enforcing traffic rules. Yeah. Nowhere else does traffic rules need to be enforced in the way in which it does in India.
I think, Ankita, you're right in a way, but let me once again reiterate the same point which probably Sambit was trying to bring about, is that we have to accept that as a society, we are not a very safe society. We are not safety conscious at all. Whether it comes to road traffic injuries, whether it is construction related injuries, we've seen many patients would come from industrial injuries, agricultural injuries. It's not only road traffic injuries, and it's somewhere down the line that the ignorance of the people regarding their own body. I mean, people who travel at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour on a two-wheeler think that their bodies are made of iron. It is not a fact. If you actually hit a stationary object at that kind of speed, you are bound to die. You have to explain this through examples, through various IEC activities, and I think there is that is where the media as well as the government agencies also come into the fore, where people have to be explained the importance of all these safety activities.
Pulkit Singh, Somit Pangte, you've actually, your students in IIT, you've come up with an online petition where you highlight what you think are the steps that need to be urgently taken. Now, if you could quickly run us through some of those steps that you're talking about and why you think this now must be made an absolute priority by the centre.
Well, We had a 10-point letter that we intended to deliver to the Prime Minister that we believe are what are the most essential steps that can actually improve the road safety conditions of the country. They speak as number one, the National Road Safety and Traffic Management Board Bill that was introduced in Lok Sabha in May 2010. The 4 years that has gone till now, the law hasn't been passed. We recommend that a statutory National Road Safety and Traffic Management Board should be established in India, and the board should be established as soon as possible. Kash, one of the big points that we came up in our studies was crashworthiness of cars. We found that Indian cars do not satisfy the crashworthiness standards that many European countries' cars have. Airbags, simple airbags that can save lives, are not present in the basic cars that we get. Yes. Airbags are today a luxury. They are here meant for saving lives, and we are providing them as luxury, and the government is not doing anything about them. In an article written by our Professor Dinesh Mohan, he explained very clearly how today car manufacturers are actually clubbing airbags with other luxury items such as leather seats and other
making how can them safety be a luxury?
Yeah, making it actually a luxury. And we are not arguing the fact that it's a luxury, but life should be, if I'm buying a car, it should actually save me just in case if I ever make an error, a very simple error that I'm very much capable of doing.